welcome back to the Steak and Brush. I am here today with you to do a little bit more on foundation basics. And what I want to talk about today is more the actual application of your foundation and going over putting into practice more of the shade selection and color selection. So before we get into it, as always, if I could ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channel and share it with all of your makeup loving friends, and follow me over on Instagram at steak_and_brush. Okay, so first thing we'll do, I've already got my face prepped and primed. That should be, the best thing for your foundation is to start with good skin. So your skin should be clean. You should do all of your skincare, moisturizing, whatever is in your, morning routine. And then if you choose to use a primer, go ahead and put that primer on. And you want to make sure your skincare and everything has had a chance to set, especially with sunscreen. Sunscreen, you want to try to give, the more time the better, but you at least want to do 10 to 15 minutes in between. It is actually 8 o'clock at night, so I do not have my sunscreen on, but because there's no sun to protect me from. Okay, so what I have here, I'm going to do a little swatching on my skin to show you. I have 3 foundations here. I mean, I've got tons of foundations, but I have 3 that I specifically picked out to show you. All 3 of these at different times of the year are my color, but right now they're not all my color. So I wanted to show you, when you're testing in the store or wherever you are, show you, I'm just taking just a little bit. I'm going to put it right down here, as close to the jawline as you can get, but you want it in your actual skin area as well. And if you'll see, it looks very peach or apricot on me. It's because it's pulling, it's more of a yellow warmer toned. And during the summer, this will match my skin. Right now, while I could wear it, I mean, it's not horribly off, it's going to make me look a little yellow. This is my Revolution stick. This one, let's see, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to pull right now. Yeah, this one kind of goes the other way, and it looks a little too light for me right now. Light, you can deal with better than dark because you can bronze it up and make it look a little more natural. I'm just going to rub those out just a little bit so you can see a little more of what it's actually going to look like when you put stuff out. But if you can see that, they don't completely blend into my skin. And getting one that blends completely into your skin that's really tough. So don't spend forever trying to find the one that is the exact match, because, that takes a lot, you're not necessarily always going to find that. Okay, and this is the Soap and Glory Kick-Ass All Day Foundation, which I'm testing right now. Make sure I don't put it. Now, can you see that? And actually, you shouldn't be able to too much, because that is one of probably the best color matches I have ever found. It blends in just perfectly with me right now. 2 months from now, that might not match, but for right now, that's my perfect match. Now, all of these, again, they don't all look like my colors, but they are my colors throughout the year. So, I don't wear this one during the summer because I look pale as shit. I haven't been wearing this one in the winter because I look like I need a liver transplant. This one I just got, but again, has been working very, very well for me color match wise. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best foundation for me, but I'm just trying to show you color swatches. And this is kind of what you want to do to find out what fits you best. And so if you're in a store that lets you test them, this is the best way to do it. And of course, you don't want to have makeup on your face when you do this, because with makeup, you're not going to see what your actual skin tone looks like. I guess if you're in a drugstore, the best thing you can do is try to, but see, even if you look at that, that doesn't necessarily, try to get a spot that doesn't look so much, you can't really tell in a drugstore. I hate to tell you that, but you just kind of, yeah. With the drugstore, it's more of a trial by error. Okay, so today I'm going to use the Kick-Ass foundation and show you how the best ways to apply your foundation are, you can use fingers. I personally hate fingers. Now, this is a personal thing of mine. I don't like the feeling on my skin, and then it gets over onto everything, and if it gets under my nails, it really just, it's just a personal thing. Lots of professional makeup artists love to use their fingers because they feel it warms the product up to the body temperature and it spreads better. That's just not me. So if you like it, that's great. I'm going to be showing you today with one side with a beauty blender and one side with a brush. I'll start with the beauty blender. Now, any type of, I shouldn't say, a beauty blender is the actual brand. I just say beauty blender because that's what kind of what we use it as, like calling every tissue a Kleenex. But I use the Real Techniques. Use whatever you like. Some people like them to be stiffer. Some people like them to be a little softer. This is just kind of what I found that I like. The important thing is you want to wet your sponge. Now, this is the regular sponge when it is dry. This is what it looks like when it's wet, minus the, of course, chunks taken out of it from wear. The reason you wanted to have it wet is because when it's dry, it's just soaking up your product. So you're wasting product. It's just living in there instead of on your face. When it's wet, less product will actually soak into it and more of it will stay on your face. Depending on what kind of sponge you have, you've got the tip so that you can get into little areas that you need to, like the crevices of your nose. You've got the flat end that you can pounce all over your face easily and take up lots of surface area. But, again, it's all your preference. But what we're going to do is I'm going to start out, you can put it directly on your face. You can put it onto like a little palette. For right now, just kind of put it on, ignore these swatches, just put a couple pumps on my, what is this called? Yeah, my hand. I just put a couple pumps on my hand to start out with, and I will dip it in here to get a little started. Now, I don't always do this, just kind of because of habit, but the best thing to do is start from the center of your face and work out so that you'll have the most product in the center of your face where the focus is and less product out towards the outside, so it's sort of blending seamlessly out until you have less product and less product. So, but since I'm doing this with just half of the face, it's a little more difficult. I'll kind of start here. Okay. Now, I use the sweeping motions just to kind of get it in different places, but really what you want to do is dab or just bounce the blender around to get that product in. Sweeping will, it just moves it around and it's not settling in one place, and you're more likely to see marks. and just dab in as needed. Again, this is a little different because I'm doing this half and half. Usually with a beauty blender, you're not going to see too many, you shouldn't see too many marks. When I say marks, I mean like brush strokes or any marks from the actual sponge. If you do, it's probably time to change your sponge. Which, and I should say, your sponge should be clean. Okay. We have one coat all over. Take your time. It's not a race. You want to make sure you're evenly coated so that you don't have tons on one spot and none on others. You'll notice I stay, this is about the highest I need to go. I'll use concealer up here, which we'll cover in another video, but some people do take their foundation all the way up and choose not to use concealer. That's personal preference. It just depends on how much coverage you have, how much coverage you need. All right, so with one coat, you can definitely see, if you look at my face, how much more even my skin tone is here. You don't see the many of my freckles and sunspots, no redness or anything. It's all the same tone or close to it. Now I do have these little spots here that I like to cover up. So after you've gone in with your first coat, just kind of evaluate and see, what do I still see in the mirror that I need to cover up? Take just a little bit more. I'm just going to pounce it on there. Now, I will say that with a sponge, you tend to get a little less coverage, or it takes a little more product to build it up, because yes, even though it's wet, you are going to lose some in here. Okay, but I think I have it built up to about where I like it. And I'm also going to bring it down my neck. This is more of an important step. If you have discoloration or things that you want to cover on your neck, and if your color doesn't match as well. If this is too dark, you don't want a big white spot hanging out here, or vice versa. If your foundation is too light and it's much lighter than your neck, you're going to look like a floating head. So just make sure you bring it down if the color doesn't match, or if you have stuff down here that you want to cover. Okay, so now we'll move into a brush. Brushes, you want a decent size brush. This is actually probably a little smaller than I typically go, but I got this one from Boxycharm and I really like it because it is smaller and I can get into crevices. But some of the other ones I use for foundation, this is just a flat top kabuki brush. And this was a cheap one I got at Kroger. But again, you want something, it's going to have a flat top, maybe a slightly rounded is okay, but you want it to be dense. That's the big thing. Brushes that you put on powder or blush and stuff on, those are usually, they're fluffier, they move more. You want it dense, so your foundation is just sitting on the top and can be brushed onto your skin without seeping into the bristles. So I'm going to add some more foundation here. I'm using a lot more than I normally would, just because, I'm doing in the two different ways. So I'm just going to dab a little bit in there. Again, with the brush, you can put it on first and then brush around. But we're going to start here. And whether you use a brush or a sponge is complete personal preference. I like to brush around just a little bit and then just dab it in. Just kind of like I would with the sponge. But I completely go through phases where sometimes I hate the sponge and I always want to use the brush, and sometimes I don't want to use sometimes I want to use the sponge. A lot of times it depends on what I have clean, and I'm too lazy to go up, and if my brushes are all dirty sometimes I just don't want to get up and clean. Well, if my brushes are all dirty, you know, it takes a while to brush and dry them. So, and if all my brushes are clean and I forgot to wet my sponge, I don't want to get up and re-wet it. So I'll just use a brush. Also, I will tell you that certain foundations look better with different things. So it's a lot of playing around with it just to see what you like. This one I found I don't see much of a difference because, like I said, I'm testing it. So I've done it, I've used it a couple times already. But just like the sponge, you want to make sure that it is nice and clean. Also, if your foundation does not necessarily match the rest of your skin, give your ears a little go over, because they will really stand out if your hair's not down, if it's up like this. And I mean, this one matches, so it's not a big deal, but just in case it weren't, make sure you make your ears and your neck. So I've gone through pretty good, nice even coverage. Feel. Okay, and I still have that one little spot. I need just a little bit more. Yeah, this foundation I feel like I use a lot more than I should. Okay. I'm just going to dab over that. But especially when you're getting into covering specific spots, don't, you know, and when you're on your second layer and stuff, don't do this, because you're just going to be moving product that you've already got in that you like it. Just kind of dab it. Now, personally, one of the reasons I like a sponge is I think a second layer looks better with a sponge. You can put it on there without as much texture going on, because sometimes, you know, after your brush is a little wet, you can see some brush strokes. I'm just going to look at it real close, and you know, I've been doing this in my mirror, which is a little farther away than I normally do. I'm just going to look at it there, and don't be afraid to just go over any other spots that you feel needs it. If you feel that you've put too much on, get a sponge, go in with the clean side or a clean side, and just dab on it again, and that will pick up the excess product. The Charlotte Tilbury is one of those that I have found that, you know, if you get a little too much, it can start to look a little cakey. You just take a little off with a sponge and it's perfect. I so wish my Charlotte Tilbury was in my color for the winter. It's just expensive, and I don't know that I want to buy another one. Okay, so there it is. There's our foundation. From there, you can choose whether or not you want to set it with a powder or a spray or just move on. That's something we'll tackle in probably our next beauty basics. But I just wanted to show you, build on what I told you from the previous video and show you how we actually put it into action. If you have any questions about foundations, whether it be, the foundation itself, the idea of foundation, what foundations, to pick, how to color choose, anything like that. Any questions you have about foundation, please go ahead and leave it in the comments. If I don't know the answer, I will do my darndest to find the answer for you. But I hope this has been helpful. If it has, go ahead and let me know that as well. And until next time, I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.